Welcome to Waking the Why, a podcast about uncovering the purpose behind life's crucible moments. Each episode, you'll hear from real people who turn their struggles into strength and their stories into light. If you're searching for meaning, walking through something hard, or just love stories that stir the soul, you're in the right place. Hello, friends, and welcome to Waking the Why, a podcast where we discover the purpose behind life's crucible moments. My name is Stacy Peterson, and today our guest is Portia Louder. Portia and I met each other a couple of years ago, and we had the opportunity to speak a couple of times on how to help individuals with criminal records get back to work. Thank you so much, Portia, for being willing to meet with me today and inviting me into your own podcast studio. It's so fun. I seriously love it. Well, to start, why don't you tell us about your story?
Yeah. So I'm Portia Louder, and I grew up here in Utah on the outskirts of a small town. My parents were pretty non-traditional. My mother was like this super hippie, very creative. Like she used to write plays and we would have fun and build huts and float down rivers and anything you could do fun outside we did. Yeah. And then my dad was a Vietnam vet with a lot of PTSD. And for him, his father was an alcoholic. He didn't know his father. He went to Vietnam. He was shot twice. So he lived his life with structure and boundaries. So you can imagine these two people
together. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So he was up at 5 a.m. taking care of animals. He was always a hard worker and a good example of that. Me, as the oldest of 7 children, I really started to struggle with the lack of structure. Like looking back now, I think I was probably frustrated with the chaos. And by the time I was 13, that's when I just pretty much decided I'm going to do what I want to do, which I had always done, right?
Yeah.
And what I wanted to do was get into relationships with older boys. And something my dad tried to prevent, but it was just not, I was going to do what I was going to do. So I ended up pregnant by the time I was 17 with my first child, moved out of my parents' home into a low-income apartment. And I really just remember I had no hope for even a job, let alone going to college. I had gotten a GED, so I didn't really see myself ever in the workforce. My mother had 7 kids. I thought, well, I've got a good start, my first child. Yeah. And I figured, I guess I just need to find somebody to marry me. If I can just get married, it'll all work out, right?
Yeah.
And so I picked somebody. Yeah. I know, it's so silly. Don't become the person. Find the person that's going to fix you. Right. So I met someone that was 28. I was 18. I remember his offer. He's like, hey, Portia, you should marry me. I'm a good choice because I can take care of you, which is exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So we got married. It wasn't going great. Didn't hardly even know each other. And something happened. My parents, right after we got married, moved to Salt Lake City. And in Utah, I had never been to Salt Lake. I'd lived in this little town my whole life. So it was a big change for me to have my parents and all my siblings move. And I remember when I came up to visit them, looking at the city and thinking, there's like a whole world outside of this town. Right. I could maybe get a job. It was like the first time it occurred to me I could get a job,
Yeah, wow.
And my family all works in the photography industry. And so one of my uncles offered to give me a job. I went back and told my husband I wanted to move to Salt Lake. And he's like, well, I'm never leaving this town. And we don't even get along. Let's just get divorced and you can go live with your parents. So like our commitment was so firm, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so we got a divorce. And I moved to Salt Lake. And then right after I got to Salt Lake, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And I remember that being a pretty lonely time for me. Getting a job changed me, gave me some confidence. I didn't even know what I was missing because I hadn't had a job,
Right,
but getting a job and being good at something changed me. But I just remember feeling very sad and alone. My husband didn't want to be a part of my life. He had been a father to my son too. So I have a 3-year-old little boy and I'm pregnant with my second. And when my daughter was born, my parents are LDS, and my dad, which is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But we were non-traditional, so we weren't really rules followers, and the church is very rules-oriented, right? But nonetheless, my dad asked if he could bless my daughter. So I went to church, and he blessed her. And I remember looking around all the happy people there, and they were married. I thought, I've got to get married. It'll be okay.
That is the answer to all life's problems.
Yeah, just get married. So I started dating again, and I ended up getting pregnant again. And so I was 23 years old, pregnant with my 3rd child, single mother with 2 children, no child support, no father. I remember being scared. I don't think I had even been scared in my life up to that point. I mean, the way I was raised, like I could do anything, right? But I remember feeling scared. And I think it was partly because I had a job, I was a little more mature, and I had 2 children who needed more. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I said my first real prayer, and I felt a strong impression that I needed to place my son for adoption. And it wasn't an easy choice. I remember talking to my mom. My mom can't stand to see anyone suffer. So she's like, let me raise him. I don't want you to have to go through that. And I remember telling my dad, and my dad said, Portia, you're strong. I believe in you. You can do this, which was, my dad's kind of been that guiding strength for me. And so I met a wonderful couple. I actually went to several different attorneys looking for the right couple. I felt strongly they were the family, and they were wonderful. They weren't just wonderful to adopt my son. They were wonderful to me. Yeah. I was like a daughter to them, and they came to every doctor appointment. Wow. And then the day my son was born, they were in the room. And I remember watching them hold him for the first time and feeling this, like as they walked out of the room, they had other children that they wanted to go and connect with this little boy. Yeah. And I just went, what just happened? I bet. What just happened? Like a piece of me just walked out. And I had prepared for this because I knew it wasn't going to be easy. So, I mean, I literally in my mind, I've always been pretty good at visualizing what I want, and I would have envisioned them taking this child home. Like, this is their child. This is their child. But it doesn't matter how much you visualize something. Until you experience it, you won't know, right? Yeah. And that was the way a lot of life has been for me. So after he was born, I was very empty. I started to use drugs, first prescription drugs, then street drugs, and my life got a lot worse. I lost my job. I was gone all the time. My parents were raising my kids. And I remember this turning point for me was when I came home late one night, and my little boy was standing there crying with my mother, and he'd been crying for hours. And when I walked in, my mom just looked at me and said, this little boy, all he cares about is you, Portia. How could you do this? Oh, wow. Yeah, it was a moment of, I grabbed my son, I walked downstairs, and I just laid on the floor and I sobbed. And I begged God to take it from me. I was like, I can't live like this anymore. Yeah. And I remember my little boy, who's still so sweet. He's 36 now. He's not little anymore, but he walks over and he goes, it's okay, Mom. It's okay. Don't be so sad. And I go, no, Jace, I'm such an ugly person. Oh. And he's like, no, Mom, you're so pretty. Come look in the mirror. Sweet little boy, Right. And I've often thought like that moment of pain was this change for me, but it was also a moment of my son seeing who I really am, which I think our children can do, right?
They can. It's amazing.
So the next morning I went upstairs and told my dad, I need help. Now my dad had been trying to help me and he couldn't. So he just said, you're on your own. I've already tried. He was like, go talk to, the neighbor. And our neighbor was an LDS bishop. And when I knocked on his door, I said, I'm a drug addict. I need help.
I love that.
Yeah.
Be direct.
Just be direct.
It's like, help me, right?
And he invited me in, and he invited someone to come share their story with me of recovery.
Oh, I love that.
Which was really helpful, right? He also said this to me. One of the cool things about him, he recently reached out to me on Facebook and said, I'm so proud of you. Oh, isn't that so sweet? Yes. It's like 30-something years later. But at this point, he was really honest with me. He said, Portia, you might be the most selfish person I've ever met. Well, no, but here's the thing. I was. And so I've learned to be grateful for people that will tell you the truth.
But at the time when he said that?
At the time when he said it, I knew he cared. He didn't say it day one. He made me some promises, and then he asked me, why do you think you've done all of these things? And I kept saying, well, it's my mom. It's my dad. It's my ex-husband. I had lots of excuses. And he said, keep thinking about it. And then he said, Portia, you're very selfish. He's like, I want you to really think about why you've done everything that you've done this far. And finally, I called him back and I said, I figured it out. I did it because I wanted to. And that was the beginning, right? Because accountability is power in your life. 100%. So he was in my corner. He was trying to help me come to the place of recognition of my own power.
Right. Yeah.
And so we got to that place. He made me some promises that if I followed these principled steps, that my whole life would change. And my whole life changed. Yeah. Listen to those wise people.
It's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah. Listen to those people. Yeah. So I ended up meeting my husband. Now, I was not looking. for a man.
Right. This time that was different.
I wasn't thinking, I just need to get married. Everything will be okay.
Right.
I knew at this point that I was the problem and I needed to just be okay.
Yeah.
And when I got okay, I met my husband.
Yeah.
And he is amazing. And I still have no idea how I tricked him into
Chad is
marrying
pretty
me.
cool.
He is so cool. He's kind and good and humble and sees the best in me. And his love for me has been a great strength to me. So we got married, and this is the good part. This is hard for me because I tell this story and I'll tell it to a young crowd. I go to the MTC and they're just so happy when I get to this point. And I'm like, it's going to get hard again.
You're like, it's not over.
It's not. No, it's
Yeah.
going to get hard. But at this point, Chad and I got married. He adopted my kids, and I started my own photography business that just boomed. Things were going well. Then I did what I always do, and I had 2 more kids because that's what I do. And I ended up having a back surgery and relapse on prescription drugs. Yeah. So what I know about me is I can't take 1/2 of a pain pill or I am off to the races. Like the way my brain works, I just know this about myself. But I didn't then. And I thought, oh, well, I'm not on the street. And so I started to use those drugs again. And my judgment's not good when I use drugs.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people can do that, but not me. I am a hard worker and I also am a hustler. So they go hand in hand.
Right?
Yeah. And so I ended up thinking, I just need to make more money and everything will be okay. Because there's always something, right?
Yeah.
So
Always looking for that external
right.
thing that will bring the joy and the happiness rather.
Yeah. So I ended up getting, the short version is I got involved in some illegal real estate deals.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying. I just remember the weight of it, the fear. I jumped right in and started investing. At first, it was just flipping lots. And then I put a whole subdivision under contract because I like to hustle. And then somebody presented what was called an equity deal where you borrow more than a house is worth. And I just jumped into them. And I remember hearing I was under federal investigation and being terrified.
Right.
Because I could not see how I could come back from going to prison. I couldn't see how my husband would wait. I couldn't see how my kids would survive, and I couldn't see how my community would ever accept me. Yeah. And really, it was just a lack of knowing that on a fundamental level, I'm a lot deeper than any of those things.
Right.
So,
Sure. Wow.
So I fought it and didn't use the whole lesson that I learned early, the accountability lesson. Now I've learned making a mistake is one thing, denying the mistake is a far worse mistake.
It's so true. I've told my kids that the whole time, like, you make a mistake, that's okay. Just don't lie about it.
Yeah, don't give it power.
Yeah, yeah.
Own your mistake. It's accountability. As soon as you own it, you have a solid place to stand.
Yeah.
But it's scary.
Right.
I recently had a dream about, I think looking back, I can see so clearly how it would have gone different if I would have just said, okay, I made these mistakes. How can I make it right?
Right.
Just so that all the listeners know too, I get constant comments. How can you call it a mistake? Look up the definition of mistake. It's clearly a mistake. It's also a choice. I'm like, I have no problem with the word choice, but mistake does a pretty good job of explaining
100%.
it. So I made these mistakes and didn't own them, which made it a lot worse. Mm-hmm. And when the FBI showed up, instead of saying, okay, how can I make this right? I made excuses. There's people doing worse things. The banks are bad. Everyone knew. Why me? I have kids. I can't go to prison. I've worked too hard to get here. I can't lose everything, right? And eventually the day came where I did walk into a federal courthouse. At that point, it had drug on for quite a while. And I was facing 0 to 7 years in federal prison. And I'll never forget that day because I walked into the courtroom, and prior to walking in there, my life was completely different. I really thought, well, I don't have a criminal history. Maybe they'll give me a year, right? Maybe probation. But as soon as I walked in and felt the weight of the situation, I knew I was going to get the maximum sentence, which was 7 years. And I remember I just started to cry because I looked back at my husband and my kids, and I felt so much sorrow.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
So much sorrow, yeah. My little girl was 7. My youngest daughter was 7. And I thought, how am I going to be gone for as long as you've been alive? Like, it just felt so overwhelming, the weight of it.
Right.
So the judge sentenced me to the maximum, to 7 years. Chad got up that day and he pled with the judge that he would give me time to say goodbye to my kids. The judge gave me 8 weeks, and I remember walking out, and I was so shocked I couldn't speak. When you hear the words, the United States of America versus Portia Louder, there's this feeling, the weight of your whole country, right? And that was something that later on I would actually run a support group on. Let's talk about the day we were sentenced, because it really changes you. You feel like an outsider, you know?
Yeah.
So that 8 weeks, I remember thinking how foolish I had been to trade something as important as time, which is our most valuable asset, for something as foolish as money. It was devastating.
I brought your book because her book's so good, you guys, Living Louder. But there's a part in here that I want to read and ask you about.
You marked it.
I did. I marked it, but there it is. Okay, so you said, when I first got to prison, I prayed that a miracle would happen and that I would be able to go home to my children. When I stopped praying to go home and started focusing on how I could be a good mother in the situation I was in, miracles began to happen. How did you switch? What in that moment was okay, you were praying so you could go home.
Right.
But then there was something, what happened to switch you to say, okay, it's not about going home right now. It's about how can I be a good mother while here? How did you do that?
For me, and it's interesting that my daughter will tell you this was the most powerful shift for them at home too. So here I am, heartbroken and devastated, grieving the loss of my children because they're growing up without me. Yeah. And I spent a lot of time reaching out in prayer and in tears and just really sick inside. I would actually have deep conversations with my children sitting under a tree in prison. You get very few phone minutes, so I could hardly talk to my kids, but I feel like we're spiritually connected. Mm-hmm. So as I had those conversations, it was like this way of me to connect with them. Yeah. And I remember as I was praying and I started thinking, what can I do? There's so little that I can do for them. Every year on Christmas, I would write them a letter and I put my whole heart into it. But it's not like I can send them any financial gift and I'm not there for their daily lives. And I felt this strongest impression that the one thing I could do was to become the best version of myself. Yeah. It was the one thing I could do. And I felt that if I could have an amazing ending, that it would bless my children's lives. Yeah. And if I could show up and serve the people right where I was, that people would show up and serve my kids. It's do what you can that's within your circle of influence.
Oh, I love it. So we share some authors that we like, and you quote Jim Collins all the time. We talk about this
Jim Collins
when we talked about confronting brutal facts in the presentation we gave together. But you also quote Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
And I love his books too. But in here it says, those who have a why to live can bear almost any how.
Yeah.
Right? So how has your experience in your life going to prison, how has it given you a why? And what would you say that purpose is?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that happened. One of my whys was, again, to become someone that my children would be proud of, right? Yeah. So that was an important why. But there was this place for me. About 3 years in, I was doing a program where it was a very difficult program. I got a year off my prison sentence to do it. I'm holding people accountable in prison. Oh. That's scary.
Right?
I'm conflict resolution in prison goes like this. I feel hurt when you threaten my life. It's very, you know what I mean? It's not easy to do.
No.
It's not easy to do. So I'm doing this and I remember looking at everybody in the room and saying, I care about all of you, but I care more about myself. I got to that place and I wrote my daughter a letter and I said, I'm trying to get better for you, but even more for myself. Mm-hmm. I'm tired of suffering. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. It was I want to become the best version of me for you, but even more because I'm so tired of suffering. Mm-hmm. I can't live like this anymore. Yeah. And then the next thing that happened was my soul opened up and I was able to hear people's stories. And as I connected with these women, my why became, I need the world to know what I know. I need them to love you the way I do. Yeah. If they knew you, if they knew what really happens, if they knew your strength and the hard lives that you've had and how hard you fight for the basic things that most of us have, they would welcome you home. Yeah. And so I would say that. I would say, the world is cheering you on. And they say, no, they aren't. And I'm saying, they're going to. They're going to.
They are.
I'm going to tell your stories. Right. And that's why I wrote that book.
And it's happening.
Yeah,
it is happening.
Yeah.
So you're doing lots of things, right? You mentioned you go to the MTC and you speak there. We've spoken together. You're doing your podcast now.
Yeah.
Why do you do all of it? Why do you do what you do?
People ask me that all the time, Stacey.
I mean, it's not like you have, all the time in the world. You've got a lot of things going on.
I don't. I feel so driven to.
Yeah.
I feel so driven to. Like, I have had financial opportunities that have come into my life, which I'm so grateful for. Because honestly, I came home from prison and money did me dirty. I don't care if I ever make another dime. Like,
right.
I was just like, it's not important to me. Yeah. And then things have shown up and I want people to know this, like, as you become the best version of yourself and live a principled centered life, you can become worth every single blessing that will show up for you. If you keep your word, if you are on time, whether it's a job or whatever your commitments are, people will notice. Because I've gotten jobs where I started at $13 an hour and left at 30 and 40 and
right.
$80 an hour. Like, they see you and they recognize your worth. Yeah. But for me, there's something deeper that drives me. Like, I have an employer right now that he's like, what would it take to have you 100%? And I said, you can never have me 100%. You never can. Like, there's no amount of money, because I feel driven to something higher than money. Yeah. And I think my why is that my life has to have meaning. Yeah. Like, the hard things I went through, that I want people to know that no matter where they are, no matter how difficult it is in the middle, because I was in some very dark places, hopeless places, where I thought, wouldn't it be such a gift if I could just get cancer? Like, that's how sad my life was. Like, I was looking for a way out that had some honor attached to it, because I could not see a life on the other side of this trial. Yeah. And my life is more beautiful than it ever was before. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you just mentioned the middle.
Yeah.
I want you to think about, like, to our audience, those that might be in the middle of their hard.
Yeah.
There might be some that experienced hard similar to you. We all have hard. What would you say to them? What would you say to someone that's just in the middle of their hard?
I would say you can't imagine the beauty on the other side. You just can't. Fight for yourself. Your future self is cheering you on. That maybe this is the most important thing you will ever do. Mm-hmm. Maybe this trial or this challenge you're going through and the things that you will learn in the process of it is what you were born to do, and that you will become the person that you're on this earth to be. Do not give up. Give yourself grace and just trust the dang process, man. There is so much on the other side of it. There were times where I was so discouraged and heartbroken and, worried for my children. But when you believe that you are fighting for an amazing ending, the middle becomes bearable. Oh. And you just do it one step at a time.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Portia.
You are so welcome.
My friends, Portia has said it. Life's a process, and sometimes it just takes time. And though the middle can be hard, trust us. We are cheering you on, and your future self will cheer you on as well.
Thank you for joining me on Waking the Why. If today's story moved you, share it with someone who needs it. And don't forget, your why is worth waking up for.